and will all be discussed together. Deputy Cairns.
Thank you, Lascian Corla. And at the outset, I just want to express my opposition and concern about the speed and inaccessible nature of this bill. It will have far-reaching consequences for disabled people, for older people, and for individuals experiencing mental health difficulties. And at all stages, it has essentially excluded them. There's been no meaningful engagement with disabled people and disabled persons' organisations, and there's still no easy-to-read version of the bill. And the amendments are coming so quickly, we don't have time to interrogate them properly. Not alone is that just bad lawmaking, but it's contrary to the principles and requirements of the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. And now we have just 90 minutes to discuss over 60 amendments, many of which we saw for the first time on Monday afternoon. The original rationale for rushing this legislation was around the ending of wardships, but now some of the amendments from the Minister extend wardships. Could the Minister clarify if it's still his intention to have this bill progress through the Oireachtas by the recess in 2 weeks' time? And if not, why is important and complex legislation being pushed through, and in whose benefit is it to do that? On the amendments in my name, these address concerns around respecting advanced healthcare directives for individuals engaging with mental health care. An advanced healthcare directive is a statement someone can make on the type of medical or surgical treatment that they want or that they don't want, if they're unable to make these decisions in the future. It's an established instrument for individuals to outline their will and preference. However, under the 2015 Act, people detained in hospital for mental health treatment are specifically excluded from legally binding advanced healthcare directives. The Act intentionally removes their right to have their advance wishes respected, even though they had capacity to make those decisions about their mental health care and treatment at the time of making their directive. I think it's actually shocking that that was included in the original Act, but it is even more reprehensible that it's not being removed by the Minister now. Just to be clear, this exclusion is not applied to any other group of people. It's wrong, it's harmful, and it further stigmatises mental health. At committee stage, the Minister conceded that this area would have to be addressed, but located in terms of the reform of the Mental Health Act. However, that is still a way off, and this bill can resolve this huge human rights issue much sooner than that. I can't comprehend why there isn't action to preserve people's rights on this one. Lascian Corla, I have a comment on Amendment 35 in the Minister's name. Do I give that now, or do I wait for the Minister to move that? So I speak on that now. Thank you. Regarding Amendment 35, I welcome the change, reflecting changes brought about by repeal. However, it still leaves the Act as singling out, the Act still singles out pregnancy as a specific medical state, different to all others. So it imposes a specific requirement on directive makers to clarify if they intend their advance directive to apply during their pregnancy, rather than presuming that they would have reasonable expectation that their wishes regarding medical treatment would continue to apply in the event of pregnancy, even if this isn't specified within the directive. I think myself and others didn't submit amendments on this in good faith that the Minister committed to addressing the issue, and at second stage Minister Rabbitte stated that the government would repeal that provision of the 2015 one, but the government hasn't done that. So I'm just wondering if you could clarify why not. The pre-legislative scrutiny report called for a repeal of section 85(6) of the 2015 Act. That's the amendment I would have submitted, and the one we should be discussing. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Lascian Corla. So I'll speak to Amendment 2 first. And Deputy Collins, you are right. There is agreement, I think, among everyone that there must be parity in the operation of advanced healthcare directives between physical healthcare and mental health care. And I want to reiterate the statements that myself and Minister Rabbitte made at second stage and say that again. Both myself and Minister Donnelly and as Minister for Health and our two departments and the wider government are in absolute agreement that this is an issue that has to be addressed as soon as possible. However, and I've stated this at all stages, it is a technically complex issue, both from the legal perspective but also from the healthcare policy perspective as well. And in light of the current work to reform the Mental Health Act 2001 in a comprehensive fashion, I'm not at this point in time able to support the complete deletion of 85.7 or of section 136. The application of the 2015 Act to persons whose treatment is regulated under Part 4 of the Mental Health Act 2001 is currently being considered by the Department of Health, and it's appropriate that full and proper consideration will be given to this issue within the context of the ongoing reform of the 2001 Act, and with the input of the clinical and policy expertise of the Department. And again, both I and the Minister for Health, we are in full agreement with deputies for the need for parity of care. So I want to be very clear that there's no question of not addressing this issue. Government will address the gap here. However, I think it is just important that we ensure that the changes that we are bringing forward to make sure that that gap is addressed is properly sequenced in terms of changes to the 2015 Act on foot of this particular piece of legislation and in changes of the 2001 Act as well. And I think it's important to say that if we don't properly sequence these issues, we risk putting something into the statute books and that risks leaving somebody lacking legal or clinical certainty at a point in their lives where they are particularly vulnerable and they need the full protection of the legislation. So, whereas I see there's calls in terms of the amendments put forward for outright deletion, I'm not in the position to support them at this time. But my officials and officials in the Department of Health are continuing to engage on this issue. And if we are able to devise a policy solution that can be implemented in this legislation, I will bring forward an amendment in the context of committee or report stage in the Seanad. So engagement is continuing. We are still trying to look at a solution here. I can't guarantee it because it is complicated and it is very much dependent on the wider reforms and how the reforms of the 2001 Act will apply. And the same applies in the context of Amendment 36. I'm not able to accept the amendment today, but my officials do continue to engage with the Department of Health on this. As you know,